Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Audio testing. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Audio testing. See if I can sound is good. All right. Let me right back at her again for time on highways and hedges, the Chief Lesson Concourse on this Tuesday night. What's that? June the 9th, 2026. This Tuesday. So with that, I'd like to give all praise and glory and honor to Yahawah, Ba'ashem, Yahawashi, Ba'ashem, Ba'akadash, and the Heavenly Father. True name is Yahawah, and his unbegotten Son, Ba'ashem, and the name is Mashiach Yahawashi. Those are the true names that ancient color in Hebrew, lost all the time. And I say the rock and to the elders and prophets, elders and apostles for Akim or Aqua, and I say Shalom. So back out again, once again for the fifth time on the highways and hedges at the Chief Lesson Concourse.
Page 14. Oh. But it's not done. It looks like it.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna check. Yeah, let's check out some news updates, see if it's possible. Yeah, check out some news updates. I'm gonna see if I can connect to the Wi-Fi right here in this area. So it's locked here for a second. Locked for a second.
Oh, what? What it look like?
Yeah, actually.
Wow.
No, YouTube.
I think that's Facebook or Instagram.
Oh, yes. No, that's how I blow it out. See my thing. It's in my thing. Let me get online. Up there. Sloppy. Yeah, that was worked out. I was able to connect to the internet, so while we have Yahawashi. So see if I can get to the RT.com, check out some more news updates if possible. As we continue to occupy prophecy, to the best of our ability. So check out these recent news articles. We definitely seeing what's that Matthew 24 chapter is definitely in full effect. We're seeing the wars, the rumors of wars, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. We're in times of lawlessness, iniquity is abounding. We're seeing wars and rumors of wars, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. Now that we're in Matthew's 24th chapter. Yahawashi spoke about this 2,000 years ago. But, he spoke to the disciples at the amount of hours. And this is being mentioned these are times that he spoke about. So, wait for the. Right, so as we've been seeing, the latest of the U.S. strikes on Iran responds instant. Right, so, this is the news article that I see. During the year of 2025, this has been the largest ever escalations among the nations around the world since 2025. So that shows that. It says armed conflicts hits a world record. Right, so armed conflicts been at a world record from the year 2025 all into now. And so that lets you know we're definitely in that Matthew's 24th chapter that Yahawashi spoke about wars, rumors of wars, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. So I won't be surprised to be a world record in the year 2026, just like it was in 2025. And so it's something going to continue to increase. So that lets you know that we're living in signs of times of these nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. Seditions, uprisings, uproars in the world, that's going to continue to increase. And so I won't be surprised to have a world record of armed political conflicts at the end of 2026. Now, since I mentioned that, bring out that Matthew 24 chapter. Matthew chapter 24 and verse 7. It says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. It says, there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. Right, so famines and pestilent plagues and the rise and increase in earthquakes in various places and diverse places. Because we've definitely seen these high magnitude of these earthquakes in diverse places been increasing. And these nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom is going to continue to increase. And this is the book of Luke 12 and verse 51. It's the book of Luke 12 and verse 51 reads. It says, Luke 12 and verse 51, it says, suppose ye that I come to give peace on earth, I tell you, they will greater division. Right, so more divisions. And just like 2025 was a world record of armed conflicts. I won't be surprised 2026 to be a world of world conflicts, a world record in this year too, as well too. So that you know that Yahawashi mentioned, think not that I come to send peace on earth. I tell you, they will greater division, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, seditions, uprisings, uproars through the world. As we see more and more these insurrections, which is an uprising. Seeing beginning stages of it, and it's only going to continue to increase. So it's going to come to pass and be fulfilled. And this is the book of Mark chapter 13. This is the gospel of Mark chapter 13, verse 7. It says, ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, right? Increasing building up wars and rumors of wars on a daily basis. It says, be not troubled, for these things must need you. Right, so Yahawashi says, be not troubled, because these things must need you. Wars and rumors of wars, nation against nation, But this is a prophecy coming to pass, be fulfilled, because we're living in times where biblical signs and prophecies, they're going to continue to increase, and they're going to come to pass, be fulfilled, because we're in those times once again. Because there's no new thing under the sun, like it says in the book of Ecclesiasticus 1 and verse 9. And just like it says, what's that, Ecclesiasticus 3rd chapter? But there is a time and seasons in every person of heaven. So we're in these modern day times and seasons. Every purpose of heaven, which is modern day biblical signs, are going to continue to increase. And just like Jeremiah 20 verse 8, the prophets that have before thee and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and great kings, war, evil, and pestilence. So these war, evil, and pestilence is going to continue to increase in our world today, and that's what we're seeing. So the pestilence are increasing, the evils are increasing, and these wars are increasing. And we're seeing the increasing of us prophesying against great countries and great kingdoms of war, evil, and pestilence. So that's going to continue to increase. And this is Luke 21. This is the gospel of Luke 12, 21, and verse 25. It's the book of it says Luke 21 and verse 25, right? Just like that Bath, I think it's called Belfast over there in Ireland. It turned into chaos because heavy protests were heating up over there because of that individual that did that attempted stabbing over there in Northern Ireland. So ever since then, tensions been heating up over there in the area because this guy was Sudanese. He had potentially stabbed a Ireland guy over there in Northern Ireland. So there was a protest about the anti-immigration. So that's a sign that we're seeing nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom is increasing at a long rate. Just like that news article that came out from RT.com. They said armed conflicts is a world record from last year, and potentially is going to be another world record armed conflicts in these times as well too. As we get into these biblical signs and prophecies coming past and get fulfilled, where knows our times, like I mentioned here. This is the book of Luke 21 and verse 25. It says, there shall be signs in the sun and among the stars, and upon the transgressive nations will perplexity raise one. Right, so there shall be signs in the sun and among the stars, and upon the transgressive nations will perplexity raise one. That's what we're seeing on a regular basis. And this is the book of Mark chapter 3. That's the book of Mark chapter 3 and verse 23. It says, he called them unto them, and they say in that parable, how can Satan pass our city? Watch it. Yahawashi says, hey, how can Satan pass our city? Verse 24. It says, in the Watch it. Yahawashi says, hey, if the kingdom be divided, so more nations and kingdoms are still going to be divided still for this day. Over here in the verse out of Babylon and around the world. Especially the Edomite nations, they're going to be divided now. So whenever Jacob versus Esau, that's what you call nation against nation. And these other nations are rising against one another on a day-to-day basis in many different aspects and categories now we see. So you're going to have these political wars, economic wars, nuclear wars, trade wars, seditions, uprisings among the nations. That's why Scripture says, if a kingdom be divided, except the kingdom not stand. And we see that increasing on a day-to-day basis. And this is the book of Matthew, the 24th chapter. Matthew 24 verse 7 once again. It says, for nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. Right, so more nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom on a daily basis. It says, there shall be, Matthew 24 and verse 7. It says, for nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. This goes to ethnos. And there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in various places. Right. Matthew 24 and verse 8, all these are the beginning of sorrows. Right, so these just the uptick of the beginning of more and more sorrows that Yahawashi has shown us. So more biblical signs are more to come. It's like it was each time. Now once again showing forth in these times. And this is the book of Matthew, the 12th chapter. Yeah, it's the book of Matthew, chapter 12 and verse 25. It says, hey, shout out to that brother Yahawah, the prophets of the scene, judgment continues. This is Matthew, chapter 12, verse 25. It says, and Yahawashi know their thoughts. He said unto them, every king of the Bible says, every city of the second edit, the 9th chapter. Yeah, it's book of second hedges, chapter 9, verse 1. It says, he instantly then said, measured out the time diligently in itself, what thou says the parts of the signs past, which I had told you before. Right, so we're going to continue to measure the time diligently itself and occupying prophecies on a day-to-day basis. And so for what Yahawashi not shy for that. So we definitely are measuring the time diligently in itself. Yeah, it says armed conflicts worldwide hit a world record since World War II. Man, since World War II. Hey, that let you know we're living in signs of times. So that's something going to continue to increase. Yeah, it says anti-immigration riots raged at Belfast after stabbing attack. The unrest erupted after a Sudanese seeker asylum allegedly attempted to behead a man in the streets. That's crazy. Hey, that lets you know, tensions are really going to escalate between these nations. Because throughout the years over in Europe and different parts of Europe, we've been having these heavy anti-immigration protests. They've been increasing over there in the UK, over there in different parts over there in London, over there in Ireland, different parts over there in Ireland. So it's only going to continue to increase. And just like it says in the book of Luke 21 verse 25, there shall be signs in the sun and the moon and stars, and upon the earth transgressive nations will perplexity rage born. And that's what we're seeing. Second Hedges, chapter 9, verse 3, there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars from the world. So we're going to see more and more of the uproars of the people world. And that's the spirit too, because I didn't sit down and lesson on that a couple of hours ago about the uproars of the people world news updates. So that lets you know we're seeing the uproars are increasing on a daily basis as getting closer and closer to this great insurrection uprising. So these are the times we're in, And this is the book of Second Edges, chapter 15 and verse 14. It says, and woe to the word, and then it whether in, right? So more woe to the word, and then it whether in. And verse 15, for the sword and destruction draweth nigh, right? For the sword and destruction draweth nigh, because you know the modern swords weapon. It says, for the sword and destruction draweth nigh, and one people should stand up to fight against them with the swords in hands, right? That's what it said. One people should stand up and fight against them with the swords in hands. And just like that, they did an anti-immigration protest over there in Ireland. So it's heating up over there in that area. And just like over there in Kenya, they got the protests. They protested against the Americans having this having this what you call those quarantine facilities over there. They thought the citizens will be first, because they the ones that dealing with that outbreak over there. Now it seemed like they putting the American workers first rather than their home countries. That's why they are in uproar about that. So we're going to see more of the nations are in perplexity, uncertainty among the nations, and seditions among the nations and uprisings. The citizens get against their leaders in power, and that's what we're seeing, especially with these recent protests about certain citizens in these different countries around the world. They want their leaders in power to resign, or presidents to resign. That's what we're seeing, And just like you had the COVID in version out of Babylon, you got citizens blaming Nero 47 because they lost Nixon. And so that lets you know we see the division between the current person in power in comparisons of the citizens are rising against their leaders in power. That's what we're seeing, So you got divisions on both sides. You got the ones that support their leader in power, and then you have the opposing side that's against their leader in power. So, hey, if a kingdom be divided, except the kingdom not stay. So we're going to be seeing more seditions among the nations. And if any one another, they should not regard their kings or their princes, and of course, they actually stand in power. So that's going to continue to increase. This is Second Edges 15, verse 16. For there should be sedition among men. Right. So these are the beginning stages of sedition among men around the world. But there should be sedition among men, debating one another. They should not regard their kings or their princes, and of course, actually stand in power. And when we see it taking it up to a whole other level. I remember that when the Iran-Israel war was going on, you had it was like a couple months ago, like 2 months ago, and over there in I think it was over there in Ireland. Yeah, it was over there in Ireland, and they had like the gas prices protests over there, and then you had like the trucker farmer workers. They was blocking the areas over there in Ireland, and you had one of the I think he's like the prime minister or mayor or something like that over there in Ireland, and you had this individual. He was a worker. He was like a truck worker. He came up to the prime minister all in his face, see what he's going to respond. He couldn't say nothing. He just walked off. And then you had the citizen of Ireland. He just walked all in his face. And so that lets you know we're seeing these increasing conflicts and escalations of citizens are rising against their leaders in power. That's what we're seeing. It says, Second Edges 15, verse 17, it says, a man should desire to go into a city should not be able to. Right, it's going to be a time where we're going to see more and more of these concentration camps, family camps, martial law state emergencies. And we definitely see that over here in the version out of Babylon. We're going to be seeing that increasingly around the world. This is, as we're getting closer and closer to this great insurrection uprising, and then you're going to have these leaders in power going to sign that insurrection into law. This is Second Edges 15, verse 18. It says, because of that pride, the city shall be troubled, and the house shall be destroyed, man shall be afraid. Right, Proverbs 60, verse 18, pride before destruction, also before a fall. This is Second Edges, chapter 15, verse 19. It says, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor. And we see that daily basis, especially over here, and around the world. Lawlessness and iniquity is abounding, like it says in Matthew 24 chapter. 2 Timothy, the 3rd chapter, also latter days better snatch coming. And Ezekiel 7, verse 5 to verse 6. We see that coming to full effect. And this is the book of Second Edges, chapter 15, verse 19. It says, a man should have no pity upon his neighbor, as I should be able to see that on a daily basis, and should destroy their house with the sword. We know the modern sword's weapon. It says, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and tribulation. Right, so we're about to enter in these 40 great tribulation times, these perilous times. So we're going to enter in these perilous times. There's going to be a famine. There's going to be a famine, lack of bread, lack of water, like it says in the book of Amos 80, verse 11 to verse 13. These are the times about to enter into, and that hour of temptation. Storehouses should be empty, and these are the times about to enter into. And this is where we have to sound the alarm on a daily basis. This is the book of Second Edges, chapter 13. Second Edges, chapter 13, verse 31, then I'll close it out. Yeah, second Exodus 13, verse 31. It says, and one shall overtake and fight against another, and one city against another, and one place against another, and one people against another, and one realm against another. Right, just like it says in the book of Isaiah 19, verse 3, and the spirit of Egypt shall fill. And you're going to have the Armada of the Egyptians against the Armada of the Egyptians, city against city, kingdom against kingdom, neighbor against neighbor, kingdom against kingdom. Hey, Matthew's the 24th chapter. Matthew's the 3rd. Yeah, Matthew's the 12th chapter, verse 25. Yahawashi says, hey, if a kingdom or a king or a nation or house be divided, should not stand, should be brought to desolation. That's what we're seeing. So if a kingdom be divided, separate kings not stand. And just like that news article that came out from RT.com, they said armed conflicts was up at an all-time high ever since World War II. And that tells you something right there, you know. That was from 2025. Now, in the year 2026, I won't be surprised if it increasing of a world conflict ever since World War II. That might be increasing in the year 2026 like it was 2025. So that lets you know that we're living in signs of times. But there is a times and seasons in every person of heaven. So the third world's war, that's going to come to pass and fulfill. The great insurrection uprising, that's going to come to pass and fulfill. What's that? Isaiah 19, verse 1. When Yahawashi comes back with the bright suns are coming, that's a prophecy coming to pass and fulfill. The mark of the beast, that's another prophecy coming to pass and fulfill. In the time of Jacob's trouble, the famine of the word, perilous times, tribulation times, and all these events and prophecies, they get it closer and closer to come to pass and be fulfilled. That's why it says in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3, for the vision shall be one time, and he shall speak, not lie, tell the wait for, because it should come on terror. So it might be times where they might be asking contingents, they might have their little peace deals and stuff like that, which have been previously going on throughout years and generations, but this is nothing new on the scene. But prophecies, they still going to come to pass and fulfill. So I'm going to go ahead and close it out. So back out here again for the 5th time on the highways and hedges, the Chief Lesson Concourse on this June the 9th, 2026, on this Tuesday night. So hopefully this was edifying of the street teachings of Yahawah, Yahawashi on the highways and hedges, Chief Lesson Concourse on this Tuesday night, June the 9th, 2026. And so with that, I would like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Bahashem, Bakar the Heavenly Father, the true name is Yahawah, and his only begotten Son, Bahashem, and the name of Hamashiach, Yahawashi. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, the lost of the Holy Tongue. And I say Barak Abam to the elders and apostles, Ba'akim, Ba'akrof. Until next time, I will say Kom Yasharabah, and above all, and Shalom.